Hello and welcome to DTC Podcast. I'm Eric Dick. Today we're close talking with Jessica and Rhae, co-founders of Mintier, the oil-based sugar-free breath serum disrupting the oral health space. We cover their product's unique origin story, Kickstarter launch strategy, most successful ad and email tactics, all the way up to today, where they're readying for a new product launch and currently rank in the second position on Amazon for breath mint products. Scrape your tongue and scrap in for a fresh take on entrepreneurship. On with the show.
A lot of people will say, find a co-founder that has the exact opposite skill set of you. And we just beg to differ because we are very similar and we have some similar skill sets, which allows us to run in the same direction. We think twice as fast. We both come from sales. We both do the copy and the creative, and we get to bounce those ideas off each other.
Not many people know this, but the very first time we hung out, we had a glass of wine and we talked about breath mints. So it's been like this labor of love over the last 4 years, from curiosity to maybe we should make something, to kitchen experiment, to all of a sudden accelerators and Kickstarters and product launches and building the brand.
Looking for an effective way to drive traffic to your Shopify site and increase sales? Critio's integration with Shopify helps attract buyers with relevant ads, deliver rich consumer experiences, and drive better commerce outcomes. The Critio plus Shopify integration allows merchants to launch in a matter of clicks, meaning no development or technical skills are needed. Benefits of this integration include expanded reach, greater personalization, elevated acquisition rates for high-intent buyers, and increased retention. With Critio, you can acquire new customers across the open web and build audiences from the world's largest commerce dataset. To get started, visit critio.com/DTC. Jessica and Rhaelyn, welcome to the DTC Podcast. Let's start by, can you tell me the Mintier story?
Absolutely. It's our favorite story to tell. So we first had the idea for Mintier back in November of 2019, so a couple years ago now. And we met working at a corporate startup called ClearBank, now ClearCo. That's where we met. We were working on the sales team there. Rhae was on the UK side of things, and I was dealing with the US side. But we were both working just really long hours, and oddly enough, the office was stocked with traditional breath mints. So as we're drinking coffee all day, everyone's just eating breath mints all day trying to get fresh breath. And that's when I noticed that the main ingredient was sugar. And it made sense because I always get that cakey, dry feeling in my mouth when I have too many breath mints, and I don't like to chew gum. So I was chatting with Rhae about the problem, and she was like, let's just swap it for a sugar-free breath mint. So we did. Was shocked to learn that those sugar-free breath mints still contain sugar alcohols. And sugar alcohols are terrible for your digestive health, your oral health, and it's just not great to consume them, especially in large quantities.
I was just hearing this morning about sugar-free, and I didn't know I was curious if this was still the case, that you can technically say sugar-free and then have all these other kinds of sugars. That's still the case in terms of the FDA?
It is,
or whatever
yes.
Canada is? That's interesting.
Yeah, not many people know. We're lucky now that more education's coming out about it. So perfect timing for Mintier to enter into the market because we don't have any sugar, we don't have any sugar alcohols. But it took us over a year to actually figure out how to make a breath mint without any sugar or sugar alcohols. And that is actually why we're oil-based. So we were in our kitchen trying to figure this out, ended up actually hiring a food chemist to help us make the formula. And then once we started the process and all the iterations, we nailed it, started giving it to our friends, our family, and people were just obsessed with it. So now we are the first and only oil-based breath serum.
Amazing. It's surprising that the category hasn't been disrupted earlier. When we first did our pre-interview a long time ago, I went and, my daughter had been eating a lot of mints. She loved to get mints at the store and stuff. And I had sort of I don't think realized that they were just basically sugar pellets, which is tricky. Interesting. So, you concoct the product in your kitchen to start, and then talk about the launch, talk about getting to launch and what went well.
Yeah, so we were lucky enough to actually be in a Canadian accelerator program that helped us just learn about the ins and outs of retail because we had more of an e-commerce background at the time. So we had a demo day with them, which was in that following September. So we actually decided to launch a Kickstarter in with that demo day, just to get that extra buzz. And then that's how we pre-sold the first Mintier. So that was in September of 2021. Yeah. Wow. Time's flying. So we launched with Kickstarter. That was fully funded in the first 24 hours.
Nice.
And then so that was like a soft launch. And then we were fully in market by that following November.
What was your funding goal for that Kickstarter?
It was quite small, but it was $5,000, and we ended up raising just over $7,000.
Nice. And really quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. In the
Must have been a great proof point to start out that you've just got like that. That's such an amazing community of having those channels to launch from. I've been thinking about it more and more. Those like owned channels to actually like launch products in is just so valuable.
Yeah, it was a great experience for us, and it went really well. So
very cool. Anything go wrong with your launch?
I mean, looking back, probably our Kickstarter video would be a bit different. We did everything bootstrap, budgeted, being very mindful of what resources we were putting into the Kickstarter versus what resources we want to put into actually making this a business and doing the line run. That's actually why we set the goal at 5,000, is because that's what we needed for the line run.
Yep.
Looking back, we know other companies have invested a bit more heavily into their Kickstarter and might reach larger goals. A lot of that will stay like within the whole campaign. So if you put in $20,000 in paid ads to fuel that traffic to your Kickstarter, you might make $20,000 on your Kickstarter. I'm glad we did it how we did it, because we just wanted like this proof of concept, and the amount of that allowed us to go through with the line run.
Very cool. And if you had overshot, it wouldn't have been, if you had gone for 15 or 20 or something and you'd only got 7, it wouldn't have been a success, obviously, in the way this was.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. So when we spoke, we were just saying it was like January last year, or this year even, or sorry, when did we actually, it was January this year. So it was just sort of like, it sounds like 4 or 5 months after your launch. Where are you now versus where you were then?
Now we're in about 325 stores, which is crazy to think. A lot of natural stores, health food stores, and we're expanding even more this fall. We actually were ranked number 2 in breath fresheners on Amazon. So we just had Prime Day, which was crazy for us and amazing, and still selling D2C as well. But it's great to see the brand evolve, even though it's been primarily a hero product this far. And we actually have some new launches planned for the fall as well.
That's wild. Like, how do you explain your Amazon success? Is it that you offer such a clear alternative, and so that's helped giving you boost? Has it just been great reviews? What's been the Amazon lift?
As consumers ourselves, like when I see a product, I'm not even Googling it so much as searching for it on Amazon. So we found like people were searching for Mintier on Amazon, and we were a little bit reluctant at first to list on Amazon because we know the fees can be high. Do we do FBA? Do we not? The ads, it's like a whole other beast to figure it out. But I think a lot of the traffic is just like Mintier customers looking for Mintier on Amazon and then purchasing it that way because it's so convenient and it's so accessible for the consumer to do it that way. I'd say like just investing in like good product photography, keeping a keen eye and close eye on what people are searching for. But ultimately, like I think it's the brand and the type of product that we've been able to rally this community around.
Nice. Is it, and the 325 stores, are they mainly in Canada? Or are they in the US as well?
Yeah, they are primarily in Canada. We're looking to enter into the US in 2024.
Ooh, that'll be exciting. Are there any has anyone, because you know you're sort of like reinventing the category in some ways, have you had any copycats jump on the bandwagon?
Yeah. What's the saying? Imitation is
the highest form of flattery.
Of course.
So we've had
hard
people,
to believe that.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
It doesn't feel like it.
Especially like when you innovate something. Like it took us so long to figure out like how to make a sugar-free and sugar alcohol-free breath mint. And now to see other brands doing it, it comes with the territory as innovators in the space. So like we don't pay it much mind, but they don't know what we're up to next. So we think that's a big thing there.
That's right. Category originators. Yeah, you've got that originator's advantage, and it sounds like you're building on it with your new product launches. Let's talk about the new product launch a little bit. Are you going to, first of all, I'm curious, are you going to launch that new product on Kickstarter as well?
We've decided not to do that, but we were thinking about it. But no.
Oh, interesting. Just because you feel as a more established company, you didn't want to put the resources into, you feel like you can kind of launch it to your existing audience well enough.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And just like how Rhae was saying, some of those extra resources like paid ads, we've already had a strategy in place for that. So we think we can launch it and it still be quite a success on its own.
Nice. Can we talk about the paid ads? So we've talked about Amazon a little bit, talked about retail. What has the paid ad strategy looked like and how has it worked? And where has it worked best?
I mean, meta ads do perform best for us. People really like seeing use cases. So we've had different creators, including ourselves. Not that really we're creators, but we are the faces behind the brand as the founders. And just when we use Mintier, why we created Mintier, the story time behind it, those were like our best performing ads, I'd say, in the last 6 months. But we're also seeing an uptick on Google search, actually, through building out our blog.
Oh, interesting. And describe the content that you're putting on your blog. Same stuff. Or is it more about the science, about the product?
A lot about oral beauty, oral health, oral wellness, oral care. We actually launched a complementary product, which is a tongue scraper, and people are fascinated by tongue scraping. So we're talking about like the 5 benefits of tongue scraping, how to clean your tongue scraper, before and after tongue scraping, the 4 things you might notice. And we're getting a lot of traffic there.
I guess tongue scrapers are like blackhead, like the tape or whatever. It's just sort of people are like a little bit morbidly fascinated with like what's living on their tongue.
It's so satisfying.
It's very cool. The other thing I've been on lately, I've been sort of anti-fluoride a little bit. I've been like looking at fluoride. Like fluoride is not something like I really want in my mouth that much, or really against my skin, I don't think. And so I feel like again, my daughter was using this fluoride mouthwash, and like it does leave you with that feeling with your mouth has been sort of like irradiated a little bit. But it doesn't. I don't love it. So I imagine this product gives you that same sort of sensation of just like that. Like, describe the product a little bit more. I'm curious. Like, what is it? It's more than peppermint oil, obviously. Like, what kind of goes into it?
Yeah. Oral wellness is definitely having a moment right now, although we're not so much in like the fluoride versus not fluoride space.
No, you're not dental health. You're just,
Yeah, and people are becoming more fascinated, like you said, about just how their mouth feels throughout the day and like taking care of their oral health. So I love that. Mintier is made with just 6 ingredients right now. So the main ingredient is actually MCT oil. So the oil actually helps if you have like dry mouth, for example, just to coat your mouth really nicely. And then it has peppermint, spearmint, cinnamon, lemon, and clove. And all of those ingredients actually complement each other really well to give you that like instant mint refreshing feeling that we're used to. But then the clove and the cinnamon and the lemon work together to give you like the long lasting effects. And it's really gut friendly as well.
Cool. But I want to talk a little bit more about your plans for your new product launch. So learning, like what are the key lessons you've kind of learned from running Mintier so far that you're going to put into practice into the launch?
I would say when we first launched, we weren't as well versed on TikTok. Whereas now we've been pretty religious with posting on TikTok for the last year and a half. We post almost every single day for, I would say, almost 3 times a day for the last year and a half, which is, we're pretty proud of that. We've backed off a little bit now that we're starting to get ready for this rebrand / launch. But I would say we're really leaning into TikTok now, into creators and influencers, where when we first launched Mintier, it was really just Rhae and I kind of preaching this, but now we have more people, we have a community now, so we're really investing into them and making sure they have the product in hand first to then share it with their communities.
Where does your community live? Like when you say you have a community, how do you conceive of that?
I would say they just are on social media for the most part. On TikTok, a lot of them have engaged with us. If we're at like a market, for example, people come up to us and say like, we actually follow you on TikTok, which is so awesome. You know, we don't have a huge following, but we do have a following, and people let us know that. And it's fantastic to see. And then we do have a small newsletter that we send out every single Tuesday where it's just Rhae highlighting 5 things about her week. It can be personal, it can be business related, podcast recommendations, literally anything. And then I do my 5, and people actually respond to that. And if we have a question about, a product or a retailer that maybe we're launching in, people respond to that. So we're definitely developing a little community.
That's very cool. Yeah, we're thinking more and more about just how to make emails less transactional and more sort of conversational, more sort of engaging in different ways. And I love that idea of having different ones, from each of you sort of alternating as well. That's really cool. Very nice. So TikTok is gonna be a big part of it, but Meta ads also are gonna be. Do you run your own ads as a team, or do you have an agency?
We run them ourselves.
Who's the are you both wired in?
No, I spend a little bit more time on that. We both do the creative and go through the copy. It's learning. That's advice we got early on, is like try and learn as much as you can on your own. We did test before with an agency, and it wasn't scaling up how we originally anticipated. So like much better to bring it back in-house and make sure that we have that control over it, especially as a startup.
Very cool. I was going to ask, so you were friends originally, like close friends to start, and you became business partners. How does the division of labor break down? Like who focuses on what besides the ads here?
We call it like our superpower because we actually are very similar in the way we like to work. And I know a lot of people will say, find a co-founder that has the exact opposite skill set of you. And we just beg to differ because we are very similar and we have some similar skill sets, which allows us to run in the same direction. We think twice as fast. So like we both come from sales. Like Rhae said, we both do like the copy and the creative, and we get to bounce those ideas off each other. And I think that allows us to find what works even faster. Would you add anything to that?
I would say it's funny because we are fast friends. Like we've known each other for maybe 4 years now, but not many people know this, but the very first time we hung out, we had a glass of wine and we talked about breath mints. So it's been like this labor of love over the last 4 years, from curiosity to maybe we should make something, to kitchen experiment, to all of a sudden accelerators and Kickstarters and product launches and building the brand. So it's been all through building a business too.
That's super cool. If there's one moment you had to pick as like the turning point to where you like knew it would sort of change the course of the business or really kind of launch the company, what would you call it? What would you say is your turning point?
I would say, I don't know what you're going to say, but I would say Beauty Connect last November. We got a call that we were a finalist in the oral care category for Beauty Connect in LA in November of 2022. So we went and we had a 3-minute pitch on stage to like all of these industry experts and brands that we look up to. It was just incredible. And it was like, okay, wow, oral wellness and oral care is having a moment in beauty. And like, we really think that we can lead this. So it was a little bit of validation for that. And our community was so excited about it. I wish we could have brought them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a
You
good
concur,
one.
Jessica?
Yeah, that was an incredible experience. We thought it was a scam that we were chosen, but it wasn't. It was very real. That was definitely a turning key. I would even say even a few months prior to that is when we started doing this product development for the new product we have launching in about a month and a half, which is going to be, I think, a complete game changer in this space. It's really innovative still, but it's allowing us to be even more accessible, and it's even going to be more recognizable in the market. So I think.
Are we able to talk about it knowing this comes out on Monday, or is it quiet until it launches?
It's quiet.
It's quiet.
Our community knows
it's coming.
Yeah, knows something is coming that they've wanted and asked for and have been excited about. They don't know exactly what it is, so they will be the first to know. But
okay.
Yeah, it's about like 6 weeks out.
Yeah, we're getting
crazy.
Nice. Well, I know what it is, and I agree that I sort of tease the audience here, but I think it's going to be a really good change to the form factor. And you kind of mentioned the brand change. The Mintier is one of the better brands I think I've ever heard. I love that as a brand. You're probably not changing the brand, you're just changing the product a little bit. And offering two options in how you're going to serve the product.
Exactly. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we won't hint much more because we don't want to spoil the surprise. I wanted to ask about mentorship. You mentioned how you're learning by doing in a lot of ways, like when it comes to ads and stuff. But is there any sort of mentorship moments that either of you or both of you have had that have really helped in the generation of the business?
Yeah, we've really prioritized networking. So whether that's from other founders in the space, people we look up to when it comes to like if they're really involved in retail or in the accelerator programs we've been in, like everyone has something valuable to add to our lives. Like we truly, truly believe that. And we love to keep learning. So I can't pinpoint like one of them just because everyone's given us such good advice, but it's definitely something that we prioritize. And even like once a week, we try to make sure we have a meeting with someone that just to chat about, because you never know where the conversation is going to go. And that always gives us some insight into something we didn't know about.
It's been relatively informal, I'd say, since we launched, but it's more taking those like golden nuggets and tidbits from people that we look up to or that are similar in their journey and path as us, because we can learn and then move quicker. But we are looking to potentially like formalize that with an advisory board, because I think once we hit this next growth trajectory, that would be really, really helpful.
Very cool. Do you have anyone on your dream advisory board?
Who we talked to yesterday?
Yeah.
We had the opportunity to connect with Tara Bosch from Smart Suites, and we feel very, very lucky to have had some of her time recently.
Yeah.
And she would be absolutely a dream partner advisor.
Yeah. Very interesting. I would throw Nick Saltarelli out there from Midday Squares. I just feel like he's he's a really intelligent guy, and in the CPG space as well.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll send this. We can clip this and send it to him and see if he's interested.
Perfect.
That's super exciting. So, where do you see Mintier? How big is the oral health? Like, how do you see? What's the TAM of Mintier, do you think?
We have some numbers in mind when we've done our own research, but even in just the last year and a half, we've seen the category grow exponentially. Even just like we popped into an Ulta Beauty, for example, and when we were in the US a couple months ago, and they have a whole section dedicated to oral wellness, and that's a leading beauty retailer in the US. So to see oral wellness products in a beauty retailer is huge. And we've had some early conversations with other retailers who are seeing the same thing, like Sephora, for example. I think it's really coming and it's here to stay. So we're just like at the forefront of it, we believe.
What do you think is going to be most critical in terms of getting into Ulta, getting into those US retail stores? Is it really just going to be you've honed your story for so long? Is it really just getting in front of the right people with your story and your product?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of brand awareness. We are still a very small new company. We realize that. But a lot of it comes down to even SKU count. So we're working on building out our SKUs in the next year, which will then better position us as a retail-focused business.
Rhaelyn, what is going on with Advantage Plus? How is it? You can nerd out on ads for a minute here. Are you using the ASC Advantage Plus campaign suite, or how are you using that?
We are using and testing it. I wouldn't say we're putting all our eggs in one basket, because there's so much volatility when there's something new. We did see some like early on results with it, so it does look promising, and hopefully it just keeps optimizing. But it's hard to say. Like who knows Monday? Who knows tomorrow what things are going to look like?
Yeah, typical media buyer. That sounds exactly right. What's the best thing you've done with your email list? What's the best sort of execution, or what's the best thing what's working best with your retention stuff?
I would say the founder newsletter. Mm-hmm. Like sending that out once a week, it has our best engagement. We do get sales from it as well, but it's not about product or like going on special or any discounts. It's more about community and brand building and like just being human and being ourselves, because we are a 2-person team. So like authentically our personalities come out through the brand, and you can tell in the newsletter because we're just being ourselves, and we'll talk about going to a friend's wedding or
The Barbie movie.
like whatever may come up. And some of it obviously is relative to Mintier, but it's really neat to see if we do have an ask, like what retailer do you want to see us in? Getting like a few replies that day is like, wow, okay, people are into this and they're really excited about what we're building.
Very cool. What are your goals for 2024? Like what do your goals look like? How do you describe your goals for the rest of the year?
Yeah, our big focus right now is actually like outreach when it comes to sales and retail. And that's like what excites us. That's our background. That's what we used to do when we worked in sales. So that's like our focus right now, because we know the lead times for retail are quite long. So I'd say our focus is just, starting to build those relationships with different buyers, getting them samples, and then in the background, making sure we're on track to have all of our SKU launches. Like I said, we have one coming up, and then we'll have another one, and then we'll hopefully have a third, which will position us in 2024. And yeah, anything else?
Well, we come from sales, so we were so used to having monthly sales quotas that we've adopted that into our brand as well. And we're very hard on ourselves for those. Like, we need to hit it. So we do have like financial metrics that we'd like to hit. We do have social, like following or engagement metrics that we'd like to hit as well. Store count metrics, review metrics. I mean, they're all in there, and those are more of the like tangible goals that we can hit. I think the biggest though will be the rollout of the new product, and potentially another SKU as well by the end of the year that will be just major. And then we'll sleep all of Christmas Day and then back to it.
Yeah, we are very numbers driven, which has been great for us because we're both like that.
I was going to say, you say you have like, is it like a total overlap of skill sets? Are there any areas at the fringe that one of you has and the other doesn't?
I think it's just interest. Like, I'm interested in financial modeling a bit more, and you have a natural gravitation to retail and distribution, and you're so good at that, especially having not done it before. So like, there's things that we naturally gravitate towards and report back to each other on. But again, like I think it's so special that we move in the same direction and think the same, because if God forbid you were sick in bed one day and couldn't answer the phone and I had to make a decision, I know it's the same decision that you would make. Mm-hmm. And I hope you trust that too.
I do.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Do you work in person often, or do you work, is it so remote? You live in the same city, but you're in your own space?
I'm very lucky that Rhae decided to relocate a little bit closer to where I am, because she did grow up quite far away. But we met when we worked in Toronto, and we both commuted there. But now we work much closer, and I would say we work together almost every day, minus maybe like one day a week where it just makes more sense to kind of have like a laptop day.
Mm-hmm. We're 20 minutes away now instead of 8 hours.
Yeah.
Where were you before?
In Sault Ste. Marie, so in northern
in the Sioux.
Ontario. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Very cool. Nice. Okay, so what about if we were to give the DTC grant $50,000 that you have to use in the next quarter or so? Where would you put that in your business right now to see the biggest return?
I would say,
each have an answer.
I think we're going to have the same answer.
Yeah, we are.
I think inventory right now, because we do see the power again in what we have coming, and we have new SKUs launching. So that would be, I think, where we put the money.
Agreed. It's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any brands out there that you really admire, that you guys are watching and really sort of admire how they do some aspect of their growth?
Obviously admire Smart Sweets, because she was low sugar and was talking about having no sugar alcohols 4 years ago when that wasn't as popular as what we're seeing now. So like, obviously, I feel like every entrepreneur just admires Tara. She's incredible. I would say alongside what we're building, like other founders, there's so many that we meet with constantly.
I'm trying to think of like Euphoria, for example.
Yeah.
She's fantastic, even just on
Fiona.
TikTok and her audience. Gosh, there's so many. I think we're really gravitating towards like the beauty space because Mintier is actually technically a cosmetic, which is something we had to learn along the way when we were in those early days of Mintier because we thought it would be a food product because it is consumable, but a breath freshener actually falls in the category of a cosmetic, which had our brains just going because we are a breath serum and we're trying to bring oral wellness into beauty routines. So it's really changed the course of our business, and we just really admire how other beauty businesses are operating.
And that you're also like Fiona is such a great example because of her TikTok presence and how much she's kind of putting herself out there, which is something that's working for you two as well, which is super cool. And Tara Bosch, if you talk to her again, just be like, hey, there's this podcast. You should also come on because she would be a huge get for the podcast. And my daughter, I always brag to my daughter all the people I get on, and that would be a very big one for her. So we'll
absolutely
keep those channels open. Nice. Well, thank you both so much for coming on the D2C podcast today. If people want to check out Mintier, they can go to mintier.com, right?
shopmintier.com and then shop Mintier on TikTok and Instagram and all the other things like LinkedIn.
Yep.
No threads.
No threads.
I had no threads. Yeah, threads just fell right off. Like I got like 1,000 notifications, 10,000 notifications over the course of a week, and I've just never gone back in there.
Yeah, I haven't gone in to even refresh.
It consumed us for the first 2 days or so. Like we were just like threading all day, having the time of our life.
Though. It's like I don't want to miss out.
And then now I actually deleted the app because I didn't want all the notifications anymore.
Do you remember Clubhouse? Clubhouse came on like a cult and then just totally evaporated. Do you tweet?
I tweet sometimes.
Yeah.
But I
Do you
guess
X? Sorry. Do you X?
Yeah, I haven't since Threads came out. So both.
Oh, interesting. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting phenomenon. Just killed off live chat, text-based apps for you. Nice. Cool. Well, great little end piece here. Thanks for sticking around. This was a fun podcast.
Yeah,
thanks for having
so much for having us.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at directtoconsumer.co. I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.